So, if you join me, I thank you. I appreciate you. Right? You're wondering why the basics of astrology is important, right? So, let's be understanding and correct here, right? The basics of anything is important. You can't ignore the basics of literally anything. If anything you're trying to learn, anything you're getting into, you need to know the basics, right? But primarily in this video, I want to talk about your sun, your moon, right? It's a little hard. I didn't really get it there, but you know what I mean. Um, and your rising, right? Consider your big three. That's a terrible two, but you know what I'm doing. I consider it like that, right? Sun most important, ascendant. Sun most important, moon second most important, ascendant third most important, right? It's important to know your big three, right? But because this is the first video I'm doing, I want to kind of lay the background for things before I even move on to that, right? Because this isn't just about your big three, it's about the basics of astrology, and I like to teach people when it comes to this that your big three is what you need to understand before anything else, so that you can really kind of get a grasp on everything else, right? Because these three are obviously, they're called the big three for a reason. They're important, right? So the basics of astrology, right? What is astrology, right? Astrology works off the basis that the movement of the stars, the planets, and the mathematical angles predict/dictate what happens in the passage of time. It's in you, it's in me, it's in everyone. But not only does it dictate what happens here on Earth, but it dictates why you are the way you are and your deeper intrinsics, your characteristics, and who you are as a person, right? Like, this person has a Leo sun. They have Leo energy, right? Leo in the zodiac is represented by the sun, right? So if you know the sun, if you look at the sun is very bright. It's beautiful. It shines. It radiates. It gives off heat, right? And that's the thing about Leo energy. Leo energy, for what you can say, this and that, Leo energy is going to shine bright and be itself, no matter who is around, right? It does not care. Leo energy is there, and that's all that matters. It's like, I'm gonna be me, and I'm gonna do me, and I'm gonna enjoy myself, and that's it, right? I always know when someone's a Leo sun. It may be because I'm good at reading them. They're always around me. I have a lot of them in my life. And I think it's generally because within my own personal chart, I have a lot of opposites to them. So I think we just naturally attract each other. But point being, you know when someone's a Leo. You know when energy is there, right? And that's important to that person's character. So obviously, in terms of the big three, the sun is your identity. It's your whole. It's most of what you are, realistically. Obviously, you gotta look at the whole chart, and there's so many aspects and so many little things to each chart, right? Like, your sun has decants, right? There's 1, 2, and 3 decants in any sign, right? But we'll talk about that on a deeper level. Talk about that later. Point is, in terms of what your sun represents, it represents you as a whole and your general overall character. It's sort of your default, right? Your default settings is your sun. That's what your sun represents. So if you're a Leo sun, your default is just kind of to be that way. There's positives and negatives to each sign. But not only do you just look at your sun, but you gotta look at your houses. But we'll talk about that in the next one. Point is, your sun is it's a whole. It's the whole of you. It really is. It's like the embodiment of you as a person, and that's just generally what it is. It's your default. It's like your rule. It's like when you play chess, and each chess piece has their way of playing, right? Like, pawns can only take diagonally, or whatever it may be, or this and that, and that's your rule. Your sun is your rule. That rule is who you are, and even if you don't realize you do it, you abide by it, right? Now, if you look at aspects and things of that nature to your sun and the sign and all this other stuff, it's going to affect it. But, that's something we'll talk about and understand later on. This video isn't necessarily for, seasoned astrologers. This is for people who are trying to understand and get into it. They're earlier, this is for beginners pretty much, right? And anybody who wants refreshers, but I really don't think you really need a refresher on the sun. But point is, this is the basics. This is low level stuff right here. And as time goes on, I'm going to go through everything because I have a passion for it. And I think it's important, as an understanding to put this information out there and to get more people into it, right? Because, this channel is not just about astrology. It's about really anything spiritual, esoteric, metaphysical, whatever you want to call it. And human design is stating that big shift is going to come in 2027. And it's important to get this information out there and to push for it because we are going to, as a people, as a species, to become more dependent upon ourselves individually and more spiritual in a sense. And you can already see it happening with the words and the things that are being talked about because it's important. Because we've reached a point in terms of our evolution and society that, as much as people say it's bad out here and this and that, especially here in America and things of that nature, it's like we are living longer. We have more access to food and things that we never had before. So life really is a lot better. So in terms of our involvement, we need to sort of push to take care of ourselves and deal with the issues that we have within so that we can move forward and continue to evolve as people. So it's important that this information gets out there, right? So moving on, right? Because I am kind of, meandering, right? I digress. Your moon. Moon is, to me, second most important. Some people is most important. I only put the moon behind the sun because your sun is like your default. Your moon is you on a deeper level on the inside, and in terms of how you are as a deeper person, right? Let's say you're in a relationship. Not everybody's going to know you on that deep level, but there's going to be people that are going to know you, and most people are going to know you for being a certain way, and that's like your sun, right? Most people are going to know you for your sun, but even less people are going to know you for your moon. So this is why I put the moon behind it. Obviously, it dictates a lot of things that you do. This is a 2, right? This is a 2, not a Z, right? But thing is, your moon has to do with your emotions. You're on a deeper level, your deeper intrinsics. And when I say emotions, this is very important emotionally, right? If you have an unstable moon, you have a moon in a water house, and then there's a lot of negative things hitting it, or you have your moon in a mutable sign, right? Virgo, Pisces, Gemini, or Sagittarius, your emotions might be very changeable, could be unstable in a sense, but you really have to look at the aspects that are involved with that moon, right? So for instance, this random chart, and this is a randomly generated chart. I just kind of threw in some numbers. This is not anybody I know or anybody I'm associated with. Probably somebody has this somewhere with all the billions of people on the earth, but point is, this is a random chart, right? So in this chart, this theoretical person has their moon in Capricorn, right? Now this is funny because I have it for me personally in my chart. So the thing with your moon in Capricorn is Capricorn. So basically, right, each planet represents a sign, right? So the moon, so basically Cancer rules the moon. It's moon energy. So having your moon in Capricorn is sort of negative in a sense. It's not negative. Nothing's really negative here, but it's negative in a sense. It's not in the most comfortable place. In fact, it's probably as far away as possible as it can be with being comfortable, with being full and being whole, right? Because your moon is your emotions, and I think when you're healthy within your emotions, you're feeling your emotions, you're absorbing them, you're releasing them, and you're letting them run their course. But if it's in Capricorn, Capricorn is cold and more so. It's not that they don't feel emotions, but they don't really show them. They're pretty cold, cool kind of people. Capricorn is an earth sign, and I like to look at all the signs as being different types of elements, right? Not just elements, but like an example of it, right? So to me, Capricorn is like earth energy, right? They're all, I say earth energy. Capricorn is earth energy, right? Let me get that right. So Capricorn's earth energy. All the green ones are earth energy. If you haven't noticed, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, that's earth. Scorpio, Pisces, Cancer, that's water. Leo, Sagittarius, Aries, that's fire, and Libra's air. Aquarius is air. Gemini is air, right? So Capricorn's earth. With Capricorn being earth, I like to look at different types of what it could represent. So Capricorn is very, it's earthy, but it's almost like stone or rock. That's how I kind of interpret the energy of Capricorn. It's very rigid, it's stiff. Um, the themes involving Capricorn tend to be like buildings and building things and career and bones and just it's stiff, it's cold, it's kind of hard. It doesn't really give those emotions, and it is in a sense opposite to the sign of Cancer. So for this person, this theoretical person, this wouldn't be the best place to have a moon, because your emotions are kind of cooped up inside of there, behind all the earthy rock that is Capricorn, right? It isn't negative, but it just is what it is, pretty much. And personally, from the things I've dealt with, it can give issues where people can't read me clearly because it seems like I'm just not expressing anything. It's a little different for me because I have it in my first house, but point is, your moon is your emotions. So yeah, but not only is it just your emotions, it has to do with your mother and how your mother was within your life, especially growing up, and how you may have perceived your mother. Having your moon in Capricorn might have meant that you perceived your mother as being very organized, very career driven, very focused on work. She might not have been around like she should have been, or she could have been cold or dismissive of you. And obviously there's aspects we got to pay attention to, because with it being in the fifth house, that's kind of positive. So she could have been a very loving and positive and great mother, but she just, however the circumstances may have been, she just wasn't around. And she primarily was working, or she primarily ended up being in situations where her energy came off as cold. So important notes when it comes to your moon: it's your intrinsics, it's you on a deeper level. Less people are going to know your moon than your sun, right? So this is for people more so behind closed doors, right? Your moon um shows your deeper intrinsics, shows your emotions, and it shows your mother primarily and how that may have been growing up, right? So that's your sun talked about, number one. This is the moon talked about, number two. So number three, the ascendant. Very, very important. All these are very important, right? That's why they're all big threes. But the thing with your ascendant is, if you look at this, right? If you look at the chart, your ascendant dictates where all the houses are at, right? We'll get into houses later on. But the thing is, your ascendant dictates where all your houses are. Your first house begins where your ascendant begins, right? So in this case, this person's a Virgo rising, right? But your ascendant does something much more unique and special and interesting, right? And I find it very interesting. Your ascendant dictates quite often your looks, how you move. It's cosmetic in a sense, right? The way the color of your skin might be, even though obviously I'm not talking about race, but I'm talking about like if you're pasty, or if you're pale, or if you're dark, or if you're orange, or this and that, your ascendant will have some sort of effect on that. The way your hair is, the color of your hair, your eyes, the shape of your eyes, things of that nature. Obviously within your race and your genetics, it sort of factors into that, right? So me, right? I also have a Capricorn rising as well, but this person has a Virgo rising, right? So they might have the Virgo type energy to them, to their looks, each, and we'll go into that as well. I'm not gonna go too deep into it here because the point is not to explain each rising, sign and how that person will look. It's just to explain here that your ascendant affects your looks, it affects you cosmetically, and personally, I like to look at your ascendant as your ascendant or rising, same thing. I usually say rising, but I'm saying ascendant here because obviously it says ASC. It makes it a little easier to understand and to be clear about But your ascendant, to me, I like to look at it as a lens between you and the world, right? So let's say you have a pair of orange shades and you put that lens between your eyes and the world, right? Or let's say that lens is huge and you put that big orange lens between you and everything else around you, right? Everybody's going to see you tinted in the color orange. It's not something you can change or control. It's just how people are going to see you, right? It doesn't dictate you as a person deeper inside or even what your characteristics might be, right? Like having a Virgo rising, you might be a little more relaxed and calm and subdued in terms of how your looks are and how you are as a person. Very earthy and natural. All the earth signs are like that when it comes to your rising. But that Leo sun is going to be big. It's going to be bold. It's going to be boisterous. But your demeanor and outside isn't going to look that way, and that's okay. So the thing is, you have that big orange lens between you and the world. Everybody's going to see an orange tinge on you, and you're going to see everything with an orange tinge on the outside. And that's how I personally look at your rising, your ascendant. I think it's a pretty easy way to think of things, and it really helps to bring things into perspective. Like I said, your rising, your ascendant can affect all of your looks. It could sometimes affect how tall you are within genetic means. That is, both your parents are short, you're still going to be short. But I'm saying it will affect if you end up being a little bit taller. You know what I'm saying? Let's say you have a Gemini rising, right? You're like a tall tree. Even though you're so short, your body might look as if you're tall. This is why you'll see people who, in pictures online, they look tall, but in person they're like 5'1". It's just the way they're structured. That has something to do with their rising sign and the aspects to it. You know what I'm saying? So these are the big three. They're important. Like I said, 1, 2, and 3, at least in my eyes. And very important to know. This video isn't necessarily for people who are seasoned and have a deep understanding of astrology. This is just an intro to something deeper. I'm passionate about it, and I wish to bring that to whoever's looking for it, right? To people who are receptive of it. Because if you're not receptive of something, you can't gain the knowledge. You know what I'm saying? So this is that. If you enjoyed it, you appreciate it. Don't forget to like, whatever it may be. Subscribe, because there's going to be a lot more videos. There's going to be a lot more going on with this. And I just decided today that maybe I want to start this and just kind of do this and talk about this. So this whole thing, the whole channel isn't just going to be about astrology. It's going to be about anything and everything astrological, spiritual, whatever you want to call it. So I got a lot more coming. So if you look forward to it, you're interested in it, I appreciate it. I thank you. And if you made this far, I thank you as well. But we'll move on to the next video. And I thank you for being here.